So I've been planning to record this video for days now, but my next door neighbor kept blasting grime and drum and bass in the room directly behind my bedroom wall. I had a stash of ecstasy hidden away, so I was able to make the most of it, but it's not what you want, especially when all you want to do is record a video. I planned my channel well, I promise. So if there's one thing you should know about me, it's that I collect games. A lot of games. I mean, only I could head on down to Comic-Con, mainly just to find out what Doctor Who related shit I could see, only to come back with a new Sega Mega Drive and a copy of Sonic 1. Man, £8, what a steal. Basically, I collect games cause I like games. They've been a thing in my life for a long time. I'm like one of the most nostalgic and sentimental shits you could ever meet, so nothing gets the blood pumping. In all the suggestive, creepy ways you could take that phrase. Like a nostalgic childhood gem of a video game. Now, my own personal gaming journey started around the time of both the Nintendo DS and the Nintendo Wii. Wait, actually no, technically the first console I ever owned was a fucking Leapster? I owned a Leapster. But the first proper consoles I had that were my own were the DS and the Wii. They made me a huge fan of Mario. I'd lap up every Mario game for the systems I could get my hands on. I'm still a big fan of the series now. It's still my favourite, even if it's now evolved into more being a fan of Nintendo in general. And other than those Mario games, back then I didn't really understand the concepts of things like exclusives, system sellers, blockbuster titles, and things like that. I didn't really care about filling my library with the system's essentials, so I kinda just got whatever sounded cool to me, usually something with the name of a franchise I already liked attached to it. Like man, 10-year-old me sure loved having two different versions of Monopoly on the same system. Who the fuck invited you? Jeez, I gotta be careful, man. I can't be doing that. You let Monopoly games gather like that, then more of them will begin to fester and multiply, and I'll have an infestation on my... Ah! So, while that may have been where my own personal gaming journey started, it wasn't my initial introduction to gaming itself. That was where a lot of other people my age's gaming journey actually started, and that was... the PlayStation 2. Such a nostalgic system. Wait, what's happening? Oh god, no! So many people my age, their earliest memories of loving video games started out on this fat system. And yes, that is fat with a PH. Unless you went with a slim model, which is actually pretty fucking hot. And how could this system not be hailed as a legendary console it is, with such an iconic library, with even some of the first games you think of when PS2 comes to mind, such as... Destroy All Humans. Certified 9 out of 10. The original God of War. Wow! Bully, or as it's called here, Canis, Canum, what the fuck? Kingdom Hearts. Manhunt, if you're one of those people. Okami, the first couple of Metal Gear Solid sequels. The SSX series, god, like, if you don't remember the SSX series, trust me, you know someone who remembers the SSX series. The two Simpsons driving games, Hit and Run and Road Rage, that I don't have because my brother borrowed them from me like 2 fucking years ago and never gave them back. The iToy series. Oh god.
Welcome to the world of iToy. Now you're probably raring to get going with it, but if you haven't played games using iToy before...
I hope this is the first thing I see in here when I die and start to descend into hell. And of course, the shining jewels in the PS2 crown for a surprisingly large number of people, SpongeBob SquarePants the movie, the game, and even more so the game that preceded it, SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom.
Oh, fuck's sake, I've got to reorganise all of these back in alphabetical order.
Now, I have a confession to make that might honestly get me exiled from the born around the year 2000 community. I never played this game as a kid.
Take that! And this! And this! And that! And this!
Now, don't get me wrong, I did play a little bit of the movie game at a friend's house because he owned a PS2, and well, if I owned one, then chances are I likely would have done. But the PS2 at my household at the time in question wasn't mine, it was my brother's, so the most exposure I really got to it was watching in awe as my brother played this one dodgy Roller Coaster Tycoon ripoff, messing around with the player creator on the old PES games to try and make the most deformed abominations we could, and playing the iToy games with him. Yeah, I should really start booking those therapy sessions. But you ask literally anyone born around when I was, chances are they'll have some fond memories of this one SpongeBob game, to the point where it's honestly kind of transcended being just a licensed game. It's become a titan of the 6th generation consoles in its own right. This has very much become its own thing. So now that I'm older and I'm taking collecting video games more seriously, I wanted to have all the big and popular influential titles in all the libraries for all my consoles, including the PS2, meaning the Battle for Bikini Bottom was a must. I've had a copy of it sitting on my shelf for a while now, but after having been friends with the boys Sarek and Josh who can never shut the hell up about how awesome this game was, I figured it's finally time I gave the game a shot to really see what the hype of this game is all about, and why it just clicked with everyone so well back in the early 2000s, and why it still sticks in people's minds to this day. While granted I'm a decent way through the game, I haven't completed it yet, so this is going to be more general impressions and a comprehensive review, same with the remake which I'm going to tackle in a future video. But I've basically just been playing the game, getting a feel for it, its mechanics, its design, its presentation, and the overall quality, seeing if it really is worth the status as being a game to break the mold of what licensed games can be, cementing itself as a 10 out of 10 stellar game, juggernaut of the 6th gen I was told it was. We'll see just how the game touched me, or didn't, like it did for all of you when you were young, and compare it to the remake later on, and judging as someone who's played a shitload of games, especially 3D platformers, which is the overall high quality experience. So with all that being said, let's go. So, right off the bat, I can say quite confidently that while nothing great, Battle for Bikini Bottom is a pretty decent, smartly designed, nifty little 3D platformer, especially considering it's a licensed game and the era it was released in. The 6th generation of consoles were defo oversaturated with these cheap, thrown together, milk and toast 3D platformers, and in the context of all those, it's easy to see why THQ were able to gain quite a positive reputation as a development studio, because a lot of those other games, you see them and it's a case of, well, we know how to 3D model and put in textures and assets, so throw some shit in different places in the game world, chuck in a character to run around as, and call it a day. Whereas this game, you can tell plenty of thought was put into its design. So yeah, for the most part, the levels, at least those that I've played through so far, have overall good but occasionally patchy design. Get it? Patchy? Because Patchy's a SpongeBob character, and it's a SpongeBob game. It's a very funny joke. I'm not gonna act like it's super original or crazy innovative in many ways. It's not like, for example, how the original 2D Mario games progress, where the level design gradually innovates and gets more and more clever and complex and fresh. There's definitely lots of recurring patterns and techniques and general sort of 3D platforming tropes being used and reused here, but they're being utilised really well for the most part, and it makes for a pleasant and fun experience. It's easy to find your way around the levels, even in challenging sections. It's not hard to know where to go, and while it does exist, bullshit unfair enemy placement isn't really all that common. On the inverse of that, there are occasionally spots where it just kinda amounts to progress forward, kill an enemy, progress forward a bit more, kill another enemy, progress forward again some more, kill another enemy. But that's also not that common, and even when that does happen, it's kinda made up for by something else. The general gameplay here can be so damn satisfying. You can tell the development team wanted to take advantage of all the buttons and button combos it had at their disposal with the game controllers of the 6th gen, because with each playable character you get all these different moves you can pull off that are so satisfying to use against the robot enemies patrolling the levels. From the animations when you hit them, to the sounds they make, the times when you hit them in just the right way to knock them into each other, the way the shiny objects pour out of the robots when they're defeated, the different colours they are which are a nice touch, the sounds they make as they fill up your little shiny objects collection. And that's another thing, this game has collectibles and it actually handles them surprisingly well. So to compare the game to Mario again, you have shiny objects which kind of function as coins, and golden spatulas which function more like stars or shine sprites or moons, except, and this is something that I can't not touch on, at times they're handled even better than Nintendo were doing at the time. So shiny objects, it's real satisfying how you can go about collecting them, and there's coins, which famously in a lot of Mario games don't particularly do all that much. In this game you can trade them into Mr. Krabs for golden spatulas. Rip Mr. Krabs' voice though.
Ah, there you are, boy. Someone's broken the sea needle. Your mom.
You can use them to unlock parts of levels as well as paths to progress through levels. And then you have the golden spatulas, which can be found scattered through various locations throughout levels, some in plain sight at the end of a semi-tricky or long platforming segment, and some hidden out of sight for you to go and find, each with their name in the menu screen that gives you a clue of how to reach them, also like in the Mario games. And you can progress through the game by unlocking more worlds, or I guess areas of Bikini Bottom to explore when you have certain amounts of spatulas, which is how you make progress through the game. So everyone knows Mario 64, and most people who didn't grow up with the game and played it a lot later on had the same problem. The fact that you hop into a level with the goal of collecting a certain power star, you find that power star, and the level ends. You get booted right out of the level, and to get to the next star you gotta jump right back in and start the level over rather than just carrying on from where you were to find the next one. Now some people would argue that this is necessary because of how the levels can change depending on which star you're after, but still, it's definitely annoying and a kind of archaic trait that was fixed in Super Mario Odyssey, where you hop into a level and collect any and all moons you want. Now, Battle for Bikini Bottom functions in the same way. You hop into the level, try to get to the end of the level, because let's be real, these levels are, for the most part, quite linear in design, not really that much of a sandbox. You get to the end of the level collecting spatulas you find on the way, beating what's at the end, usually a boss, and then you can go look for any spatulas you missed, or end the level. But the point is that you can collect any golden spatula you come across without having to restart the level from the beginning. You can just carry on right from where you were. Now, here's the thing. Super Mario Odyssey came out in 2017. And this game came out in 2003. All future 3D games taking heavy influence from Mario 64? How about 3D modern Mario games taking heavy influence from old SpongeBob games? I see you, Nintendo, I see you. So that all sounds like a real good time of a game, right? Apart from the odd thing here and there in some of the levels, it doesn't really seem like I'd have any real complaints, right? Well, this game kinda lacks polish overall, and as much as I kinda hate to say this, it even kinda lacks polish by 6th gen standards. The first thing I could probably point out in terms of this are the game's physics and camera, which to be fair isn't unexpected of a 3D game from this era made on a lower budget than the big AAA releases, but let me get into what I mean. So the first thing I could point out is the physics engine, which is definitely of its time. But there are points in the game where the development team probably weren't taking this into account, hence why there's so many exploits, bugs, and glitches for the game's speedrunning community to use to advantage, but more on that in a sec. Alright, what's left to talk about in terms of the lack of polish? Well, there's the kind of bad pause menu. Like, for real, I know I'm probably going to be alone on this, but this is just a mess. There's also the music, which seriously won't ever not be super jarring to me. Hey, listen, alright, hear me out. This game has a fucking awesome soundtrack. A lot of nice surfer rock tunes and Hawaiian beach sounding vibes that all sound like they were lifted right out of the show and enhanced even further. But there's just one issue. A lot of them don't actually loop like most video game soundtracks. They play out like regular songs, meaning the tracks have a definitive end. There's like a silent pause for a few seconds, and then the track plays again. And I mean, look, it's not that big a deal, it's something you can get used to, but it did make me wonder. The team behind the game are aware of how soundtracks work, right? Like, the first few times this happened, I thought a scripted event was about to take place, like a cutscene or a random boss fight, since, you know, that's usually what happens when music just stops in a game, only to be completely thrown off when nothing happens and the music just starts again. Obviously not an issue that breaks the game, but like I say, it's really fucking jarring to me and seriously caught me off guard the first few times it happened. And that's that. I'm honestly kind of running out of stuff to say here. We're almost done. Come on, George. First ever game review. You can bring it on home. What do you got? Come on. Well, I guess all I've got left is the lack of facial animations. And yeah, it feels kind of unfair because there definitely was a reason for this, like the budget and time just being put into elsewhere about the game. But it was just funny to watch some of the cutscenes and scenes of dialogue and realise that the game only has like 2 facial animations for each character. So for each of the lines of dialogue, they just kind of have to pick whichever animation just suits the best. The only problem with that is that half the time, none of them suit the best. So what the characters are saying and the way they're saying it just won't match the facial expressions and the body language, like, at all.
That's horrible. The sea needle is the cradle of Crochet Corner.
What the barnacles? Oh no, me heart stopped! I'm fucking dying!
And well, that's SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom. Honestly, all things considered, it's pretty good. Like, surprisingly fucking good. It's definitely real easy to see how when a lot of people my age played this as young kids when licensed games would likely have consisted of a lot of what they were playing, this stood head and shoulders above the other ones. I can easily see that. However, and this is a big however, I feel like that's led to a very rose-tinted view of this game in hindsight, because a lot of you who played it at the time were very young, plus the fact that it was so good compared to its other licensed counterparts, that it's led to it being seen as this 10 out of 10 masterpiece, must-play, jewel of the 6th gen crown. And listen, it sucks, because in a way I'm right there with you. I know for a fact that if I played this game back in the day too, I would not have been able to shut the hell up about this game, and I would have likely been one of you singing the same song. But as it stands now, maybe like a 7 out of 10? I'm not going to give scores like this in all my videos on games, by the way. I mean, hell, like I said, I ain't even completed the damn thing. I'm more just demonstrating my general thoughts on it, and, well, yeah. That was those thoughts. Man, I'm such a good scriptwriter. And well, that's my video. I hope you enjoyed watching. I might tackle the remake in a future video if people want it. Honestly, at my channel size, it will probably take like 2, maybe 3 commenters saying they do, so if you want to be one of them, then get in there, I guess. But not the next video. Got some other bits to do first. I've started trying to diversify the content I upload away from just Doctor Who and do more of the stuff I was originally going to make. I actually just uploaded the first part of my Asked Movie Ranked and Reviewed series, so if that sounds interesting and you'd like to check it out, please by all means do. I think it's pretty good. For the 2 people on Earth who eagerly awaited this, I apologise for how long it took. I mean, there's nothing to say I ain't already, other than I'm sorry my shit takes so long, and honestly, this video's gonna do even worse than the last one, ain't it? Like, no one's listening to this. I mean, if you are, you're sick and I love you, but you and I are alone here in this dark, infinite, empty expanse. So just hold me. Please. And thank you so much for watching, all you BEA beautiful people, however many or few of you there may be, and I'll see you next time. Cheers!